Hey guys, welcome back to Comic Talk. Today I'll be discussing 5 villains that should be in the next Batman movie. Alright, I know I discussed it a little bit in my review of the Batman. If you want to see that, if you haven't seen it already, that'll be linked in the description below. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment down below what villains do you want to see in the Batman movies. So I know at the end of the Batman movie, they do tease at the Joker, so it's probably gonna be the Joker in the next Batman movie. But frankly, I want other villains to get the spotlight in the Batman movies because not a lot of people know some of these Batman villains, and they are really great and bring out other stuff in Batman that maybe because we've already seen the Joker, Cesar Romero, um, Mark Hamill animated Joker, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix. Like we've seen a whole bunch, especially animated. We've seen a whole bunch of Joker. We get it. Again, I love the Joker because I'm a Batman fan. I love the Joker, probably one of the best comic book villains of all time. But there's other villains who have been around long as the Joker who have not gotten the spotlight they deserve. So today we're going to be discussing these 5 villains. Number 1, no particular order that I want these villains in. I think number 1, Court of Owls started in Batman. It came out in 2011, December 2011. Basically, these individuals are basically kind of like the Illuminati of Gotham. I think of the world as well. I haven't read all the comics on the Court of Owls, but they're basically the Illuminati. They're rich people who are dictating government, dictating what goes on in Gotham behind closed doors. And lo and behold, Batman does get a whiff of this because, I think they do want to recruit Bruce Wayne at one point because, one of the richest guys in Gotham and probably has a lot of power with one of the biggest companies in Gotham. So I think the Court of Owls would be a cool villain or foe for Batman to is basically fighting against the Illuminati and finding out that there are people pulling strings in Gotham without his knowledge. And I think that would be a really cool concept for these Batman movies because I know they are a little bit more grounded. I don't know if that was Matt Reeves' intention, but from the first movie, everything seemed a little bit more grounded, a little bit more realistic. And I think that you can make maybe a little bit some liberties with how they are in the comics and make them, maybe if Matt Reeves wants that, make them a little bit more grounded and realistic. Number 2, Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange has been around since Detective Comics 36, February 1940. 1940. Batman started in 1939. Hugo Strange has been around since 1940. How many of you guys know who Hugo Strange is? I knew I first got introduced to him from the Arkham games, and I started reading a lot, some of his comics that he's in. Wonderful character, who is one of the few characters who discovers Batman's identity as Bruce Wayne. So I think it'll be a really cool storyline to see how this Batman deals with someone who discovers his identity. And I think that'll be a really cool dynamic of he's not maybe the strongest guy, and he does a lot of experiments on people. If you play the Arkham City game, he does a lot of experiments on people. He's very smart. Maybe not the most fight, but he does have a lot of brain, not bronze brain. He does have a lot of. And one of his things is he discovers who Batman really is. And I think that'll be a really cool dynamic of what does Batman do when someone knows his identity? What is he willing to do? And not to go over to that his no-kill thing. So how's he gonna be with when someone he cannot kill, but he has the knowledge of Batman is Bruce Wayne? So So I think that'll be a really cool storyline. And I think he can hold his own as a really good villain. If you've played the Arkham game, Arkham City, probably the best in the Arkham series. He's like the main bad guy alongside with the Joker, but he's really the main bad guy in the Arkham game, which I think that'll be really cool. And he's been around since 1940, and he's never really gotten the spotlight until like the Ark. If you play the Arkham game, maybe you know who he is, but he really hasn't had any spotlight in a major movie at all. I guess if you watch Gotham, maybe if you watch Gotham, but again, no really. I think that's for diehard Batman fans as well. Another one, Batman villain who's been around. First introduced Batman 49 in October of 1948. The Mad Hatter. There's for villains of Batman who've been around this long, there's gonna be different iterations of characters, but just the gist of it, he is based on the books of Alice in Wonderland, um, and he derives a lot of his stuff from that book, and he's basically not very drugs induces Batman. If you play any of the Arkham games again, you know who he is. But he's been around since 1948, and he's never been in a movie, never really referenced in a Batman movie, big blockbuster Batman movie. So I think this is the time to pull out some of these rogue galleries that Batman has, like the Mad Hatter, who maybe I would like to see, maybe like drug Batman and maybe mind control Batman and make Batman go into this weird alternate Wonderland, and him trying to figure out his place in this Wonderland. And I think that would be really cool. Maybe go more of a horror route, which I think will be really cool, and I think that Matt Reeves can do, and which they're kind of doing it in the Batman movie. They're kind of doing more of a serious tone. So I think maybe make it rated R and make it where there's all these, he drugs Batman and he goes into Wonderland. And I think that'd be really cool to see the Mad Hatter maybe try to brainwash the Batman and see how he deals with that as well. Number 4, who's been around since 2003, Batman 609, January 2003. He Hush. Again, I think there's been a little bit of iterations of Hush, but basically he is a doctor now, and he was his name is Tommy Elliott, who I think would be really cool to see. You can explore Bruce Wayne's past when he was a kid, because Tommy Elliott was a friend of Bruce's when they were kids, and now Hush, basically, he's a surgeon, and he basically, takes people's faces, and he makes himself look like Bruce Wayne, and wreaks havoc like that. So I think that's a really cool villain and a really cool idea of maybe a darker tone movie where he is like Bruce Wayne, like he's committing crimes as Bruce Wayne, and Batman has to figure out like who is this mystery person, and I think that's another cool detective story that could be really cool. So of Batman discovering like who is this guy, who is and then we get flashbacks into his childhood and how he was as a child. So I think that would be really cool to do maybe some flashbacks, and really great way to see how Bruce Wayne grew up. So I think that cool flashbacks and fighting a villain and making it more of a detective story as well, of maybe this guy is committing crimes as Bruce Wayne and he's trying to figure out who is this person, and how he deals with his childhood friend doing this to him. So I think that'll be a really cool storyline for another Batman movie. Another great villain who Detective Comics 40, June of 1940. how many times have you heard of Clayface? Does anybody know who there? But Clayface is one of those people who has had different iterations. I think there's like two other ones, but the one who debuted in 1940 was Basil Carlo, who was an actor. And you know how comic books are. I think he fell probably in a vat of clay or whatever, and now he can change his appearance to anybody, and so he can change his appearance to Batman, to change his appearance to a cop, to change his appearance to anybody that he sees, and he it'd be cool to see it. That's another cool detective story of how does Batman figure out where Basil Carlo is and how he figure out what how is he committing these crimes and how to catch him. So I think that'll be a really cool and really cool storyline of how does Batman figure out how to catch Clayface and where to put him, and I think that would be really cool storyline where you could maybe have someone with powers and someone, because the last we haven't really had a Batman villain in a while who has really had power. Because I know the Christopher Nolan trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, was really more. He didn't want anybody to really have powers. Like Bane, he didn't have the Venom. He wasn't really injecting himself with the Venom to make him stronger. So no one really had powers in those movies, and those much more grounded. So I think this could be a opportunity to have someone with powers and have Batman fight someone with powers. So I think that'll be a really cool change of pace as well with the Batman storyline. So what do you guys think? Did I miss any? I know there's some, like there's a lot more villains. So is there any other, in the comments sections below? Make sure to follow me on talk.comic on Instagram. Probably be getting a TikTok pretty soon, but I'll be announcing that when I do. So make sure to subscribe, like the video. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. And again, in the comment section below, what villains do you want to see in the Batman movies? Thank you guys. Love you guys. And I'll see you guys next week.